Hello and welcome to Italy, specifically Monza. Monza once again. So I mentioned in a couple previous videos the weekly rotation for MS on LFM for the daily races is on Monza, which, yay, I very much long to get a chance to drive Monza. Not really, because half of the public lobbies, if not more, are this track. And then also I feel like people just drive very unsafe on here, and I'm bleeding safety rating if I partake on it. I figured I'd give it a go though on a weekday during the day, because I've seen that the lobbies aren't filling up as much, so I was hoping that there'd be higher rated players that I could mingle with, and less so only the bottom tier safety ratings, and did turn out to be the case. So here we go, off to the races. I get the jump on the red and green Ferrari in front of me, pull alongside and find a gap there on the outside going into turn one. Now there's a black Ferrari in front of me that's slower than me, so I have to kind of go to the middle to avoid them. And we end up in a 3-wide situation with T on my inside. Now T was on a very tight line. We'll see better on the replay, but so very tight line, and they don't brake enough as we arrive to the corner. So they kind of hit me on the side there, but really no major damage is done, so it's quite alright. T is in the black and white, I think it's a Lexus. Before we get to the braking zone though, I have to pull alongside, so here we go into the 3 white. There's the black Ferrari, gets pushed to the side a bit, because I get pushed into them by T, but I have a better getaway at least than T, so I find myself in P8, which was happy days, because actually I was seeded 18th in this race, so really punching up here. I'll be putting my camera in the top right for a moment though, because behind me there was a bit of a dust up, so we see T spinning the red and green Ferrari, and this causes a whole bunch of smaller minor crashes. For now it's okay, T is holding steady on the brakes, letting the whole field pass as they should, but then this white, I believe McLaren, comes around the corner, first hits the the red and green Ferrari, and then still bumps into T. And finally T is allowed to make their getaway, so they turn it around and they're now all the way in the back. So looking to be out of the way for the race, and I can focus again on my own one. Not much has happened since we cut away or put my perspective in the top right, so I'm still behind Wong, pretty close behind at that, so just about 0.3 of a second, and I have gotten away a bit from the cars behind, so that would be Le Bourgeois, José and Lamans, who seem to be in a pretty close battle, because there's just about half a second between the 3 of them. As we get to Parabolica, I actually have a better run into it than the black Ferrari of Wong in front of me, but it's so much better that I actually come very close to the back of them, and then I have to move out of the way to the outside, which then hampers me a lot on the throttle, meaning that they do have a better exit out of the corner, because if you're all the way on the inside you can really hit that throttle hard, and if you drift wide a bit to the outside, that's fine, but I didn't have that luxury. Now heading to turn 1 and 2, I think I was just a little bit late on the brakes, which then led to me coming very close, uncomfortably close for comfort, so I have to just move out of the way. Now behind more was happening. We see there Lamans trying to make a move on Le Bourgeois. Doesn't quite get the move done, and more people get caught out in the situation, but it ends up being Le Bourgeois in front, followed now by the purple car of Capustin. And then Lamans didn't really gain anything, but didn't lose much either in the end. So they're still third car in that little row. We skip ahead about a lap and a half, because at least on my hand and not much was happening. As expected, the cars in front are driving away from me, because I was already about 10 places up on where I was seated in this race. So it was to be expected. I also figured the cars behind would be catching up, but they were battling so hard that didn't really happen much. And we see Lamans going for a move again on Le Bourgeois. They make contact into turn 1, and it seems that Le Bourgeois is very much not appreciative of the fact, so in turn 2 he just barges through Lamans and pushes them out of the way. Some intra-Belgian violence there, you hate to see it. Now for me, that all kind of works out, so Le Bourgeois is now again under pressure, but this time from Capustin. But this continuing pressure or battling between the cars behind me makes it so that I have a bit of an easier time putting a little bit of a gap. So while I'm not making an impression in front, the same can be said about the cars not making an impression on me behind. And Le Bourgeois finds themselves again in a battle into the first chicane, and they solve the issue by just not taking the first chicane. So they go way late on the brakes on the inside line. Capustin doesn't. They just take the normal route. So Le Bourgeois cuts the whole chicane and stays in front, suddenly with a 1.5 second lead. So I have to imagine that they got a track limits warning from that one. It seems though that Capustin caught up pretty quickly again into that second chicane. So we see the gap already closing quite a bit. It seems likely that Le Bourgeois will be under pressure again. But there's a chaining of the guard in P10 and Goss gets to overtake on Capustin. Given that all those cars are seated higher than me, it seems very likely that I'll be coming under pressure by at least one of them. At the moment it's looking like Le Bourgeois, but might be that Goss continues their march forward and will be eventually the car behind. Possibly already here, as they are heading to Ascari chicane, I should say, we see Le Bourgeois in front, seeming to hit the apex in the middle of it quite hard and probably took just too much speed. Capustin follows them off the track as well, and it's Goss that's the real winner there, although Capustin came off better than Le Bourgeois, so still looking to put pressure as they head to Parabolica. I don't know what this was, looks like a bit of a brake check, but Capustin is really the loser there as they get spun out from the contact with Le Bourgeois. And yeah, Le Bourgeois also taking a bit of a backseat compared to Goss, so this now puts Goss in free air and lets them off the chain to hunt me down. Goss was rated very high. I'm not sure, I don't think the numbers in the sheet are the correct ones, but I do think he was in the top 5 at least. And already we can see, oh yeah, I was gonna say pressure into turn 1, but actually no. A ghost from the past shows up, and this is T exiting the pits. So seems they got into more trouble somehow, and they were in the pits. And on the way to turn 1, they do use their right indicator to show that they'll stay out of my way. But then they actually brake all the way just about on the corner, so I really couldn't count on it anymore. And to be safe, I had to take a deeper line, which then made it easy for them to start putting pressure to unlap themselves into the second chicane. Not much I could do about that. A little bit annoying though, because yeah, they're fully a back marker now. They're, I think, last in the race. We can see here, for example, they put that pressure to possibly go for the overtake, but then they just about back out of it. And once more I was looking at the seeding, and it seemed that T was also higher rated than me, I believe. But just from their posture on track, anyways, my takeaway was that they were probably a little faster than me, though not by that much. So I was hoping that if they were going to unlap themselves, that they would just get it over with and then start gapping me, because I don't have any fight with them. There's no way that they're gonna unlap themselves and then get a whole lap on me to really make progress that much through the field. Anyway, coming into Ascari chicane, they have been overtaken by Goss by now. So now I have Goss knocking at the door. I had lost quite a bit of time from T putting that pressure. So my hope now is that T would be providing the same services to Goss and hopefully would allow me to get a bit of a breather again. So into Parabolica we go, historically not my strongest corner to say the least. So it does seem like at least I'm pulling away from Goss on this one, as we saw them drop back a bit on the radar center of the screen. I did a 152.0 on the last lap, so really not good at all. I think that was mostly from T being an interruptive voice or car on track for me. Here we see it once again, but we'll see better on the replay. So what happened was that Goss was actually staying behind me, and T was going to try for a double unlapping, which is pretty crazy actually. I've never seen that. But here we go, we see it on the replay. They're really close behind Goss, getting a better draft than Goss was getting from me. So they do bring it all the way on the inside, and they come very close to overtaking me, but they already have the overtake on Goss. Unfortunately for them, that puts them on the seeing them flashing their lights there, I hadn't noticed that before, but that's pretty funny. But yeah, they already had the overtake on Goss, but then because I was on inside line, Goss manages to squeeze back through. So I got momentarily relief from the actual pressure for position by Goss, but really not for long. Yeah, T flashing the lights like what a doofus. Into Lesmos 1 we go, and Goss is just about throwing it up the inside. I leave them enough space that makes me slightly slower on the exit, and they pull fully alongside, and they get the move done then in Lesmos 2, because there really you want that inside line for sure. Now T tries to squeeze through as well, doesn't quite get there, comes alongside for just a moment, not entirely, but yeah, just a bit. And then I win out under traction. Now they do throw a bit of a dummy on the inside once again, so once again being that voice of this or force of disruption, really annoying to have to deal with when I'm actually hoping to race for position with Goss. But then again, Goss was definitely a faster driver than me, so my hopes weren't very high anyway that I'd be doing much. The bigger issue for me is that T is once more, holding me up. We'll see here on the replay. So this is Goss on my right side, but pictured left, going for the overtake. Now heading into Lesmos 1, getting it done. There's the gap on the inside then that I had to leave for Goss. We'll see it once more better in this replay. And yeah, T just dives into it, is alongside on the back straights. But with me having the outer line, I have more room to really punch on the throttle, and I do pull ahead. They juke left into Ascari, but then back out again. So yeah, just putting pressure and being annoying really. And there's nothing against unlapping. I don't have a problem with that at all. But I just feel like either do it or don't. But all this time just going for a move and then backing out. This was probably the most egregious example. They had a better exit out of Ascari. They pull ahead before we even get to the braking zone. They've got the job done, and then they just back out once more, and it's just costing me so much time. Very, very annoying. So yeah, T is P27, wedged between me and Le Bourgeois. Le Bourgeois has closed that gap very much so. Now T goes again for an overtake to unlap themselves. They finally get it done, and so be looking to move away from me, I hope. We'll look at the replay of that one. So I'm taking a bit of a defensive line, not staying all the way on the outside, but they come alongside, and fair enough. I leave them the room on the inside. Probably should have gone a bit deeper myself into turn 1, so I could have had a better shot at defending if I stuck around on the outside, and then, which would then naturally evolve into the inside line on turn 2. But yeah, mistakes were made, and I don't get that done. Now I am still very close behind as we head to the second chicane, so I'm hoping to actually gain the position back, because otherwise I'm just being put into the clutches of Le Bourgeois. But then T does something that's really not allowed, taking defensive posture against a car trying to lap you. So they're under blue flags, even though they just got the position. They're supposed to, not just roll over, but yeah, definitely not supposed to be defending. Just take a natural line, not the middle of the road defensive position. So through Lesmos, we're alongside. They bump into me on the left side. Once again, here's the replay. So clearly defensive posture, even then squeezing me to the outside. I end up having to cut the chicane because, yeah, I couldn't back out in time anymore, and my braking was compromised. They do pull alongside again into Lesmos 1 with me on the inner line, and them really leaving a lot of space at least there. I have a bit cleaner exit, so fully alongside and then slight bump and into Lesmos 2. I have that preferential inside line to again get ahead. And it seems that Le Bourgeois capitalized on the situation very nicely, so they are now the car behind, and T is no longer. Sounds a bit over dramatic. I mean, T is no longer the car behind, not that they have ceased existing altogether. So yeah, if we evaluate where I'm at in the race, quite early on I was thinking that what I should be aiming for here is a top 10 finish, because I was way ahead of where I was supposed to be according to the strength of field. So if I could manage to not drop back too far from the P8 I started on early, I would have been very happy. And so far it's playing out quite well. There's 3 minutes on the clock. I'm in P9, and there's only one car really close behind that can try and take my position. Got to a replay once again, showing you the view of Le Bourgeois and T. my view top right. T is going once again for a move into turn 1. Is really not enough alongside, especially as a back marker to justify that move. And they end up spinning out Le Bourgeois and then crashing 3 other cars that were actually in the chase for me and Le Bourgeois. So yeah, T fully embracing there the agent of chaos role. This worked out super nice for me, of course, because suddenly there's a gap of about 8 seconds behind. All pressure for P9 is off of me. We do see that gap close up in the Concertina effect, but it should open up once we hit the back straight. Briefly, I thought here, whoa, someone in front of me went off and I'm getting another position, but no, that is Feno Heri, another back marker, and actually the car just in front of T as it comes to the standings. So if we then look at what's happening in front here. So this is Carnicar, who I think was running somewhere in P4, and they run into traffic. One of whom was just dawdling across the racing line, ends up spinning out Carnicar. My view is still top right, so I'm coming pretty close to that situation, but we're still watching the first person view of Carnicar. And I don't know if maybe they had too much dirt on the tires or so, but into Lesmos 1 they run off track again. So now cutting back to my view, we see them rejoining the track there. And I did notice this slow car in P8 now, but by the time I got there they had cleaned it up and they were well on their way again. So I was still about 2.5 to 3 seconds behind. In the meantime, behind me as well, more chaos ensues with Fenoheri, the guy that we already saw off track once, going off track again. And T pulls up in front of them and then just does a mega brake check. I have no idea why. I reviewed the replay and they, as far as I could tell, hadn't had any contact before, so it seems super arbitrary. And T is just the biggest agent of chaos I've encountered in my whole time of sim racing. In any case, that's just a distraction from what I'm doing in this race. So in the meantime, I have about 12.5 seconds to the car behind. I'm still in P9 and I'm bringing it home in that position, which I was super happy about. So yeah, quite a race, a lot going on, but not that much actually for position, but yeah, a lot of back marker and blue flags shenanigans, which I was happy to survive. So yeah. Obviously, my safety rating took a penalty there. I was actually hoping to build it up, but not so much the case. So, still happy with the results. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you, and catch you on the next one.